So do you believe in a creator of this cosmos?
Open to it, but not convinced.
Okay. What makes you think there might be a creator?
I don't know, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know either way. So, no sense in making a decision without all the knowledge, is there?
But are there indications already out there which somehow points to a designer of this universe?
There are some, but there are some that point the other way, aren't there? So,
Which are the ones that point the other way?
well, I mean, you're talking about, I take it, an omnipotent, benevolent creator, are you? Because there's a lot of evil.
I'm just talking about the universe as it is, as you can see, with its complexity, with its harmony, the uniformity of its laws. What do you see otherwise that points to perhaps the creator doesn't exist and the universe is what it is?
I mean, it was created, but by something that knew what it was doing, I don't know.
So, I mean, how convinced are you that it was created?
I mean, there's a lot of evidence for the Big Bang, isn't there? That's something happened, and then there was the universe, and we can measure that. So yeah, that's pretty convincing.
So you think because there was this Big Bang that demonstrate there was a cause for it, and that cause is what you call the creator?
I mean, I don't know what would have caused the Big Bang. I have no idea, but
there must have been a cause, right?
There may have been, there may not have been, but there's no way of knowing. That represents how far back we can see. So, saying what happened before that is like anything. So
do you see anything in this universe, apart from that particular event, that things come or pop into existence without a cause?
No, but I haven't really been looking, so.
But from what you've seen so far, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, if I drop something, it falls to the ground. That's caused by gravity. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen because of causes. But I mean, I haven't been looking for things that don't happen without causes. That sounds like a headache, honestly.
But we see in our everyday experience that things require a cause if an action takes place. We infer a cause behind that action.
Oh, yeah.
So, do you somehow also think the universe may have been at point nothing and there was nothingness before that? Is it possible?
Yeah, possible.
Then how?
But it's also possible that there was something, and that something was
So let's talk about the options which says there probably wasn't anything. If there was nothing to begin with,
yeah,
no energy, no power, no intelligence, no agency.
Sure.
How would something arise from that nothing?
I don't know, but no one knows.
Yeah, but if you look at it conceptually, it doesn't even make sense.
But, I mean, conceptually, a lot of things used to make sense conceptually, a lot of things that make sense now used to, make no sense whatsoever. People used to not understand that the Earth was round and went around the sun. But now that was, conceptually impossible for people to believe that the Earth was a globe. But now we understand that it is.
I mean, at what point people thought the Earth was flat all the time? There are people who are flat Earth. Actually, some people here today even are flat Earthers.
I mean,
but the reasons are not because it cannot be round. It's because they haven't had experience of understanding the structure of the Earth to make it. But it's not a logical impossibility for them.
Yeah. So we have, but because no one at all has experience of what was before the Big Bang, and there's no way of conceptualizing it, saying it's one thing or the other is completely pointless. Yeah. And I'm not.
That's why we are saying instead of going into the Big Bang, the issues about whether the nothingness or nothing can originate anything. In our everyday experience, in the life that we are living, in the physics that we are familiar with, you cannot have something originating or arising from nothingness.
This is true, but I'm not naive enough to say that my everyday life is everything that's out there. So, who am I to say that I've experienced everything and that therefore this is correct?
Yeah, but aren't there certain things that we hold them to be true universally, regardless of whether there's another universe or a multiverse, logically speaking, because
Well, yeah, but like that's just as far as we know. As far as we know,
So if-
all the things we say that we think are true, we could discover something that means they're entirely wrong.
so if I said you are existent and non-existent at the same time, would that be a sensible statement?
But it depends on how you look at it.
You're existent means I'm speaking to someone, you are some kind of matter and energy,
Yeah.
and non-existence would be the devoid or absence of all of that. You can't be both.
Well, from that perspective, no. So yeah, I
So
do
if we
exist.
understand nothing and something, in
Yeah.
the same understanding, nothing cannot originate anything in any universe. In any...
As far as we know, but we don't know everything. And
Yeah.
anybody that says we know
Yeah.
everything is
So
wrong.
should we not operate under what we already have our reasons? Because in everyday life, you use this intellect and reasons and rationality to live your life.
True, but I also think it's important to bear in mind that that's not all there is, and that there are new things that will be discovered all the time. So, yeah.
Do you think there might be ever a possibility of a squared circle anywhere in another universe? Or a married bachelor?
I haven't looked into it, so I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I have absolutely no
Let's-
experience in it at all.
Okay, think about it. A squared circle is something that is a combination of both. A square with, four sides and you've got four angles,
Yeah.
and circle is not like that. So you cannot have a squared circle because they are, by nature,
All right. What if you draw a circle, draw a square, they're the same width across, and you look at them from sideways on? They look the same.
that's not a squared circle anyway.
Well, how would you know? If you're looking at it from sideways, they're both aligned.
It's not about looking at it sideways. In reality, think about this example where you can't draw. A married bachelor. This is a concept in which someone who is married and yet a bachelor. Can you have a married bachelor?
Well, if you're looking at him from the right side, he's got his ring on his left hand, you can say that's a bachelor. No, he's married.
If you're married, you're not a bachelor by definition.
Well, by the definition that we use, yeah. But
Yeah, that's the
necessarily-
definition we agreed to when we are,
Sure.
living our everyday experience in life. So this is how we go about. So we can't just be open to every single possibilities. Do you think? Let me ask you this question. Do you think everything is possible given enough time?
Yeah, given enough time. Probability says that anything can technically happen. Yeah.
Really? Given enough time, everything is possible?
With an infinite amount of time,
Yeah.
things that are incredibly, incredibly unlikely. So it's very unlikely that this will catch fire. If I waited forever, eventually it would catch fire. That's just
So given enough
probability.
time,
Yeah.
you can be someone like a married bachelor.
If the definition, given enough time, the definitions might change.
The definition that we agree to.
Well, right now they might change.
No,
over
no,
an
the
infinite
definitions. We go by definitions language because that's how our concepts are. So when we talk about existence and non-existence, we are not going to change the definition to what it means by existence and what it means by non-existence.
amount. Okay, fair enough. But then you're defining something that is either one way or the other. In reality, that's never the case. Nothing is 100% one thing or the other, ever.
But there are things like this where they are diametrically opposed, they're contradictory,
Such as?
yes, mutually exclusive. The example I've given you, existence or non-existence. You either exist or you don't. You can't be both existent and non-existent at the same time.
Well, so
This is a fundamental law of logic in the principle of non-contradiction.
in the way you're viewing things, you know that I exist, right? You take a look on that bus over there. There's somebody on there. To them, I don't exist because they never met me.
In reality,
In their reality, I don't exist. In your reality,
now how you don't exist in their reality?
well, they don't know who I am. They've never met me.
So-
They've never seen me.
So just because I don't know what's behind me doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well, how would you know?
Those trees behind me, just because I am not aware of them, it doesn't mean they don't exist.
You've already seen them, though.
I mean, I haven't seen what's behind my back now. It doesn't mean they don't exist. My ignorance of some things, it doesn't somehow amount to the actual reality. Reality is what is reality. So you either exist in reality or you don't. This is what we mean by, conceptual definitions. So given enough time, if you give infinite time, still there will never be a married bachelor.
Okay, because of how we define married and bachelor, but yeah, sure,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Exactly. So that's why we're saying we can't just be open to possibilities in the sense that, we should be really open because there are many things we don't know. But that even if you give enough time, things will not still amount to a different concepts.
Yeah, because the definitions that you lay out are either possible or impossible. They're one or the other. So in that case, no, there is no overlap between a married bachelor. Right?
So given enough time, all impossible can be possible.
If it's truly impossible, then no. But
why not?
In reality,
no. Why not? Why are you now restricting to a particular definition of impossible?
Because if you say if something is 100% impossible, so to use the married bachelor, you define what married is, and it's the exact opposite of a bachelor, and there is at no point any overlap, right?
So at least we now realize, definition needs to hold.
Sure.
So this is what we're saying. When it comes to our existence now, the definitions that we are holding is this definition that we can use to understand this life. You can't just keep on redefining things just because by that we can have extra possibilities.
Surely you agree that there must be some room for finding out new things.
Yeah, an impossible thing by definition will never be possible. Even later, it will never somehow become possible because by definition that will always be impossible.
All right. When you're talking about reality versus your definition, so you define someone who's married, somebody who has a partner, and somebody who is a bachelor, they do not have a romantic partner, right? That's not something that, the universe created. The universe didn't create marriage, and the universe didn't create bachelors. Humans did.
Yeah. So talk about the universe. The universe either exists or it doesn't exist in reality. It can't be both.
Okay, sure.
Since the universe exists now,
Yeah.
can you conceptually even imagine there could be a time when there was absolute nothingness? Absolute nothingness.
Can I imagine absolute nothingness?
That at one point there was absolute nothingness and then the universe came into existence.
Given the definition of existence that we're working with, I can't imagine that, no. But
Given the definition of nothingness.
yeah. But unlike marriage, because, marriage is something defined by humans, bachelor is something defined by humans, nothingness is something that is external from humans, nothingness.
But nothing is, we are conceptually defining a particular reality. Marriage is just, we are giving a term in our language to describe when someone is married, and when we say someone's married. They had some contracts, legal contracts, they signed, whatever. This is marriage by legal definition. So when we define nothing, same in that definition, there cannot be ever nothingness. In our understanding of what we define by nothingness.
From our understanding, there can't be nothingness, but that's because we exist. So it's trying to. It's like your definition. You can't technically see what's right behind you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So just because I can't imagine nothingness or a state of where the universe didn't exist, that doesn't mean it never happened. It just means I can't think about it.
But then again, the moment you say nothingness was an existent reality, it cannot bring about anything because that's you're defining nothingness as the absence of everything.
Yeah, because that's my experience of nothingness. But I'm saying my experience
and that nothingness won't be able to do anything because it simply doesn't exist because it's just nothing.
But as far as I know, but again, I'm not naive enough to say that I know everything about nothing.
But that's what we are conceptually defining what nothingness is in contrast to what is something.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So if something exists now in our acceptable understanding, there couldn't be a time where there's absolute nothingness. There couldn't be.
As we understand it, no, there could.
Yeah, because if you now redefine what this nothingness is, then it will be something. It cannot be nothing anymore.
Well, okay.
It's either nothing or it's something.
That's true, but then mean, you're making a good point, but just because right now we call it nothingness when it might just be something we don't understand.
Yeah, so it could be something rather than...
It could be,
right.
or it could not be.
Right. So if we exist now, conceptually, it makes sense that it has to come from something. It cannot come from nothingness.
Yeah, sure, as we understand it, yeah.
Yeah, as we understand it. Okay. So either the universe has always been there, or it's been originated by an originator, who is something.
Yeah, but the only evidence we've got of something is the Big Bang, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
Yeah. So scientifically, as far as we know, that the universe had a beginning, and it's expanding, and this is how it is. The question would be, the cause of our universe would be something that is in existence, that has a will to bring about that change.
Yeah. But again,
and has the ability to bring about that change.
Okay, but then you're working on how would you define will and ability? Like, did ability, they need to do this, or was it a side effect of them doing something else? But then as soon as you go into that, there's so many possibilities that you're opening up. Then saying it's deliberately happening.
I'm granting this, first of all, the thing must have possessed energy or ability to bring about this change, because otherwise it's not going to happen. Now, if we now think about there is an existent entity or reality that has the ability, if that entity didn't intend the universe to come into existence in this form, it will never happen. It will just be there. Just like, if you just don't intend to ride your bike, go from A to B, it's not going to happen. The action to take place is by an intention.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are going to give the action itself its own, course of action.
All right. Okay. But what if the will was to do something else and this whole thing is an accident? So say I ride my bike from A to B. On the way, I ride slower than someone can drive. This means that someone is late to their appointment. This means that they miss it. This means that, I don't know, if it's an important medical appointment, they don't get something diagnosed and they die. It wasn't my intention to kill them, but it happened because of my actions. So that, when you say the will to make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, what we need to first establish is whether there is the reality of will within this entity that we are describing. Whether this is a will intended this way or that way is a different question.
Okay.
First, it's the existence. Once we affirm there is an entity that is existent and cause this universe to come into our reality, in our existence, and has the ability to do that, we've already got three characteristics of the cause of our universe. If you then ponder upon all these things, imagine an entity that has the ability and has intention, must be self-aware. Awareness, consciousness.
I have no idea. Before this, there is I don't think that I have any kind of knowledge about what it would have been. So to say something would have consciousness as we would describe it may be incredibly inaccurate.
But it needs to be self-aware to make an intention to do things.
Sure. But again, so how we define self-awareness versus what was before the Big Bang, that definition would not hold.
Any entity,
definition that we have wouldn't hold in what you're postulating.
But any entity that is bringing about change by intention needs to be self-aware. How can you even make an intention if you're not self-aware? Like if you are in your room.
How can you bring about change if you're not self-aware? Okay, would you say that a fly is self-aware?
A fly?
Yeah.
The fly is aware of the existence.
They're self-aware. They understand what they're doing.
No, we're not talking about what do they know in terms of their reality, but they're aware that they have to eat to survive. They're aware that they have to move from certain traps and certain difficulties, certain things that will harm them.
Sure, but that's not really self-awareness.
What is it aware of then? What is the awareness of?
I have no idea, but it's not self-awareness. I would say human beings are much more complicated than a fly.
Look, human beings are definitely complicated because our neurology is much more geared in a way
so
to understand that.
If you go, so where is the cut-off of being self-aware? How simple do you get before
So we are talking about a universe in which we see the complexity of self-awareness, and human beings seems to be the top of in that ladder.
Yeah.
And the one entity that brought about this change, you would not expect to be lesser of self-aware than us.